We have multiple major Giannis Antetokumpo trade updates to discuss as the entire NBA is watching Milwaukee, watching Giannis in terms of what they are going to do moving forward after the disastrous end of the season. And none closer than Masai Ujiri, who's been after Giannis Antetokumpo for years. However, with these recent reports and some more regarding the asking price for Giannis, it is making me more and more worried about what the Raptors will have to give up if they do go all out in pursuing Giannis in one of these trades. So we're going to break down what the reports are saying regarding Giannis Antetokumpo, what the Bucks' plans are if he does end up getting traded, and frankly, why that is very concerning for Toronto Raptors fans. So lots of stuff to break down, lots of stuff to discuss out here in this video. But before we do, folks, you guys have been crushing it, hitting that subscribe button. If you're part of the 52% that haven't hit it just yet, hit that free red button down below, then make sure you guys hit that sub button so you join the community we're building here out here on Raptors Digest. But let's dive into it because there is a lot of stuff to really sink our teeth into. Of course, as with anything I break down, all the stuff that's going on before, essentially two-time MVP Giannis Antetokumpo has not made any firm decisions, but for the first time in his career, he's open-minded about whether his best fit is remaining in Milwaukee or playing elsewhere. So we've seen this. This came out last week, and then Chris Haynes also revealed the Bucks made contact with Giannis, and they scheduled a meeting for this week that is going to be crucial about the future of the organization. So that stuff we knew. That's not novel. That stuff isn't crazy there. What's getting very, very interesting is this latest report is coming from Eric Pincus, revealing that several agents polled at a recent NBA Combine in Chicago believe that the former MVP will direct the Bucks to send him to a preferred location. Whatever that might be, the closer he gets to the end of his contract, the greater his power to dissuade other suitors. So this is really, really intriguing and frankly makes it more interesting for the Toronto Raptors because, frankly, if it's an open market bid, if Giannis doesn't want to, go different place, whatever, it makes it tougher for the Toronto Raptors to make one of these moves because, frankly, the Brooklyn Nets have a ton of draft picks, and they're a team that will be competitive with anyways if the Raptors are in the mix. But, the Spurs, the Rockets, the Thunder, they have a lot of young stars, a lot of young draft picks. Of course, the Raptors are willing to offer up Scottie Barnes in any of these trade packages, and certainly we can make a very competitive offer no matter what's going on. But the more teams that are actually out there in the sweepstakes, the more competitive your offer has to be, which is not what Masai Ujiri is looking for. Of course, we want to acquire Giannis Antetokumpo without giving up as much value as possible. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're diving into here with this approach with Giannis and how we're feeling as fans. However, with Giannis, agents around the league, and we've heard Rich Paul come out and directly name the Toronto Raptors as a destination for Giannis Antetokumpo. If he is going to dissuade the Bucks from trading him anywhere else, and he forces his way to a specific team, to a specific squad, and we've heard those fringe reports coming from Scoop B that the Raptors are on his short list of teams that he wants to join, that makes it more and more possible for the Toronto Raptors to actually make one of these trades for a guy that, frankly, is one of the best players of, not just this generation, but just an all-time great out there in the NBA, averaging 30 points per game, 12 rebounds, 6.5 assists. Giannis is an absolute monster. But the thing about this, and we know it because the Raptors ended up already making a blockbuster trade in their, seasons past as we traded DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. And that was, of course, a significant asking price. On top of it, we traded Jakob Poeltl, traded a future pick. It wasn't as bad as some of these star player trades have been moving forward with at this point. Of course, Kawhi really sabotaged his value, was coming off of injury, so his price was lower. But with any of these star trades, you have to give up some serious value. But of course, we all want to keep Scottie Barnes. We want to keep him on this team. Now, the fit between Scottie and Giannis is a little bit interesting. So some people are saying, hey, even though Scottie's the more ideal player to have in a vacuum, he wouldn't be the ideal fit around Giannis, especially with Brandon Ingram there. That's stuff to debate. I still want to see Scottie on this team long term. I think the defense that we'd have with Giannis and Scottie out there in the wigs would just be absolutely, you're not scoring on that whatsoever. So that's that, but it's, in terms of new stuff that's come out regarding this whole situation, it's something that I'm not that optimistic about. As essentially coming from The Athletic, Bucks GM John Horst is going to go for blood in any potential Giannis trade. He wants to gut any team if he trades Giannis, and if he doesn't, if it doesn't happen, he will keep him. So basically, that's the report coming from the Milwaukee Bucks. They are not going to be making any trades just because Giannis wants to do this, Giannis wants to do that. And, it's encouraging, hearing these reports that, he'll try to force his way to a, preferred location. But still, even with this encouraging report out there on this in mind, John Horst for the Milwaukee Bucks is not going to give him up for nothing. So that sucks to see. Of course, Masai Ujiri is a very savvy trade negotiator. Say what you want about, how the team's been put together over recent seasons. The rebuild, I think, has been really strong. But, that sort of retooling following the championship didn't work out. But other than that, Masai Ujiri's really had an A-plus track record in terms of trade negotiations, in terms of different moves and things like that. So I think he's built to make these big blockbuster home run type of swings, and I don't think he'll end up getting the Toronto Raptors finessed in one of these deals. But it makes it more and more concerning, because if the Toronto Raptors do go down this route, and it's easy to, for them to talk themselves into, hey, we could give up all the pieces, all the assets for Giannis, because that instantly puts us back into contention. We have a top 3 player in the NBA. We are back in the mix. You see it with the Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets, right? He is out there as your MVP candidate, and frankly, that team is... I love Jamal Murray, but without any other all-star players, without any real star, like that level tertiary player, like, they are always in the mix for a championship run. The Raptors could be in that same swing. So it's we have a ton of young guys that can develop, and the Raptors have had a much better track record than the Nuggets and different teams out there in terms of developing young talent. So that is one thing to factor in. Another thing to look at is just in terms of what we have going here. Wrong graphic brought up, but basically, the Toronto Raptors have Brandon Ingram out there on the team. So you have a second star that, frankly, would be a nice complementary piece around Giannis already baked in. He's not going to be in one of these trades if it ends up going down the summer. You have some salary. You have some pieces that can go out. But if we have to trade like Scottie Barnes and RJ Barrett and some different pieces out there on this team along with draft capital, that is going to be a very, very tough pill to swallow as a fan base, because we know the upside Scottie Barnes has on this team. Like, that is something that's undeniable. Just at 23 years old, 19 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, 5.8 assists. Like, it is very, one block, 1.4 blocks per, 1 block per game, 1.4 steals. Like, he is just an all-round up-and-coming talent out there in the NBA. He is not a piece that you just want to part with lightly. And, of course, Giannis Antentokumpo is not lightly. He's a very, top 3 player in the NBA. Much better than Scottie Barnes is right now, but it is still a major asset to give up. And then if you have to combine an RJ Barrett having 21, 6, and 5 out there on top of it, 24 years old. A Jakob Poeltl is in the prime of his career, 14, 10, 3. If they are trying to gut us, as per the quote from The Athletic, then even though I love Giannis, this channel was built on Giannis rumors. If we're being 100% honest, if we're being 100% clear, right? We back in 2020 I didn't bring it up in this video, but the Giannis watch, we have been waiting for this guy for years now at this point. But, if we have to give up a combination of like 4 firsts, Scottie and RJ Barrett, I personally just love what the Toronto Raptors have built. And while, seeing Giannis finally don the red and black, or whatever color jerseys they're going to be out there in the future, I know a lot of people are hoping for a rebrand, but, if we move in that direction, then frankly, I don't want to see this team completely gutted, to use that quote, in order to make this happen. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section down below. I think even to an Eastern Conference rival, the Bucks will want to gut us more, especially where we've had their number out there in the playoffs. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section. You guys are the best to make this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.